Are you ready for the truth that could shake the Bears' season before it even starts? 3 bombshells are about to go off at Hollis Hall, and nobody is talking about this. First, a dirty war on the offensive line where an injured tackle fights against 2 rookies who could leave Caleb Williams exposed to predators like Hutchinson and Gary. Do you think the franchise will risk $20 million annually on a broken player? Second, a $98 million contract is teetering as our star edge rusher drags pathetic numbers. Is it physical decline or betrayal of the biggest defensive investment? Third, the clock is ticking for Ben Johnson. Can he erase the emotional damage of a battered rookie and turn him elite before Detroit and Green Bay bury us? Subscribe now or miss the details Ryan Poles does not want us to know. Chicago's future is in CHECK. Like, if you think this year is different, comment your prediction or prepare for another decade of misery. If that surprises you, wait until you hear this. We have a civil war on the offensive line that could define Caleb Williams' future. I'm talking about Braxton Jones, our left tackle who broke his ankle in December, fighting for his professional life against 2 hungry rookies, Ozzie Trapolo and Kieran Amagagi. Remember when we thought Jones was the answer after those 40 starts? I'll tell you this. His pass blocking grade of 80.8 according to Pro Football Focus last year wasn't bad. But here comes the really crazy part. Jones is in his contract year and the market for left tackles is completely out of control. Look at these numbers. The 11 top-paid left tackles in the NFL are making over $20 million per year, with Tristan Wirfs from Tampa Bay leading with $28.1 million. Do you think Ryan Poles will pay that amount for Jones when he has Trapolo, a second-round pick, waiting for his chance? But here's where it gets really interesting. Jones could start training camp on the physically unable to perform list due to his ankle injury. Do you know what that means? It means that while he's recovering, Trapolo and Amagagi will get all the reps with the first unit to prove they can be the future of this offensive line. And here's the thing that's driving me crazy. Trapolo came to Chicago with a better draft profile than Jones when he came out of college. The Bears didn't need a right tackle. They already have Darnell Wright for the next decade. Trapolo was selected specifically to form a young and dominant pair at tackles. But do you know what really excites me about Trapolo? This guy has the upside the Bears were looking for when they drafted Jones. When you watch the college film, you'll see a tackle with better foot technique, better punch, and a better understanding of the passing game than Jones ever had. Football Sports Network says Chicago has trepidation about paying Jones, and I think it's because they already know they found his replacement. But here's what really bothers me. Remember the disaster that Amagagi was last year? That kid from Yale was thrown to the Wolves in Week 8 against Washington and ended with the second lowest grade of the entire Bears offense at 40.3. That was pure malpractice from Matt Eberfluss's staff. Do you know why Amagagi failed so miserably? Because the guy was already making a massive leap in competition from Yale to the NFL. And on top of that, he injured his quad during his first offseason, ruining his entire development program. He should never have been a starter in his rookie year, especially coming from the Ivy League. And do you know what's the craziest part of all this? Ben Johnson and his staff have been working with Trapolo and Amagagi all offseason, but they've watched more film of Jones than anyone else. That means Johnson already has a clear idea of Jones's strengths and weaknesses. While the rookies are starting from scratch with the new system DOT, do you know why this is crucial for us? Because Williams' protection is going to determine whether this kid can reach his potential, or if we're going to have another quarterback destroyed by a deficient offensive line. Look at what happened with David Carr in Houston, or Andrew Luck in Indianapolis, talented quarterbacks who never reached their potential because they didn't have adequate protection. The reality is we need whoever wins this left tackle battle to be able to protect Williams' blind side against edge rushers like Danielle Hunter from the Vikings, Rashan Gary from the Packers, and Hayden Hutchinson from the Lions. Because if they can't do that, it doesn't matter how brilliant Ben Johnson is as an offensive coordinator. But that's nothing compared to what's coming. We have Montez Sweat, our $98 million edge rusher, walking a tightrope that could cost the entire season if he doesn't perform. Remember when we traded for Sweat in 2023? I was ecstatic because we finally had a legitimately elite pass rusher. In his 9 games with Chicago, the guy had 25 tackles and 6 sacks. Projected to a full season, that was spectacular. But here's the problem. 2024 was an absolute nightmare. 32 tackles and only 5.5 sacks in 16 games. Do you know what his most concerning number was? 12 quarterback hits all season, his historic low. And do you know what really worries me? Sweat is 28 years old. He's in his prime, and we just bet $98 million over 4 years on a player who had the worst season of his career last year. I ask you, what if 2024 wasn't an exception, but the start of his decline? But here's what really bothers me. Sweat struggled with injuries throughout all of 2024. It wasn't just a bad season. It was a season where his body didn't allow him to play at the level we know he can. Do you think those injuries were just bad luck, or are they a sign that his body is starting to break down? Because look, we as Chicago fans know that this defense has historically been our identity. From Ehrlicher to Khalil Mack, we've always had that dominant pass rusher who terrifies quarterbacks. But if Sweat can't return to his 2023 form, what do we have? Remember when Mack had his down seasons in Chicago? The difference is Mack had years of elite production before declining. Sweat had half a spectacular season with us, then a terrible season. What's the real version of Montez Sweat? We signed Dayo Odeyingbo in free agency, but that guy was inconsistent in Indianapolis. He had seasons where he looked like he was going to explode, then seasons where he completely disappeared. Do you really think Odeyingbo could be the answer if Sweat doesn't perform? The reality is we need Sweat to have a spectacular year, not just to justify his contract, but so that this defense can compete in the NFC North. Because look at the competition. Detroit has Aiden Hutchinson, Green Bay has Rashan Gary, Minnesota has Danielle Hunter. We need Sweat to be better than all of them. And do you know what the biggest problem is? If Sweat can't generate consistent pressure, that means our cornerbacks will have to cover longer. Jalen Johnson went to free agency, and while we have young talent in the secondary, we can't ask them to cover for 5 seconds every play. But here's what gives me hope. Sweat has had several months to fully recover from his injuries. The guy should be 100% healthy for training camp, and we know that when he's healthy, he can be dominant. His 2023 season with Washington and Chicago wasn't a fluke. The guy had 12.5 sacks in 17 games, which projected to a full season is over 13 sacks. Do you think the change in defensive coordinator will help Sweat? Because I believe Eric Washington's system can maximize his natural abilities. Washington has worked with elite edge rushers before and knows how to put his players in positions to succeed. The key will be whether Sweat can maintain his health over the 17 games. If he can do that, I believe we'll see the real Montez Sweat, the one who excited us so much when we traded for him. But here comes the really crazy part. The million-dollar question we're all asking. How much time does Ben Johnson need to transform Caleb Williams into the quarterback we know he can be? After everything we suffered last year with Shane Waldron, where Williams ended with a miserable 6.3 yards per attempt, we finally have an offensive coordinator who has proven he can develop quarterbacks. But how long will it take? I'll tell you this. We have historical evidence of how Johnson worked with Jared Goff in Detroit, and the results were immediate. Look at these numbers. In the first half of 2021, before Johnson had full control, Goff had a passer rating of 85.3 with 6.5 yards per attempt. That was almost as bad as Williams last year. But do you know what happened when Johnson took full control of the offense? Goff's rating jumped to 99.3, and last year it reached 111.8. The yards per attempt improved every season. and the offensive efficiency skyrocketed. But here's where it gets really interesting. When Johnson was promoted to passing game coordinator in Detroit, Goff immediately noticed the difference. The guy said, "Ben's been awesome. Ever since I got here, he's been one of the guys that you can kind of rely on as a good voice and understands kind of everything that we're trying to do." Do you understand what that means? It means Johnson is not just a play designer. He's a true quarterback whisperer who understands how to communicate with his quarterbacks and make them feel comfortable in the system. Here's the crucial difference. Goff was already a veteran with playoff experience when Johnson took him on. Williams is a rookie coming off a traumatic season where he was left practically alone against NFL defenses without the necessary tools. And do you think Johnson can work the same magic with Williams? I think he can, but here's my concern. Williams has much more room to improve than Goff, but he also has much more psychological damage to repair. Look at what happened with Williams last year. The guy had intended air yards of only 6.3, which basically means Waldron had him throwing dump-off passes all the time. Do you know what that does to a quarterback's confidence? It turns him into a game manager when he should be a playmaker. But here's what excites me about Johnson. The guy improved Goff's intended air yards from 6.6 to 7.2, and though it doesn't seem like much, that difference is massive in terms of offensive explosiveness. Johnson knows how to scheme receivers to be wide open, allowing the quarterback to throw with confidence. And do you know what's the most impressive number from Goff's transformation under Johnson? His total passing yards jumped from 3,245 to 4,438 in the first year with Johnson as coordinator. That's an increase of almost 1,200 yards. But here's what really has me optimistic. Johnson not only improved Goff immediately, but kept improving him every year. Goff's completion percentage went up to 72.4% last year, and his passer rating reached 111.8. That's no coincidence. It's systematic development. Do you think Williams can achieve the same kind of improvement? I believe he can be even better because Williams has more natural talent than Goff had when Johnson took him on. Williams can make throws that Goff never could, but he needs the system and the confidence to unleash that talent. The good news is, Johnson proved in Detroit that he doesn't need time to make an impact. Goff's numbers improved immediately. But the question is, can Johnson repair the damage done by a full year of bad coaching while simultaneously developing a second-year quarterback? Do you know what the most important difference between what Johnson did in Detroit and what he needs to do in Chicago is? In Detroit, Johnson took a veteran quarterback who had experienced success before and put him in a position to succeed again. In Chicago, Johnson needs to take a quarterback who has never had consistent success in the NFL and turn him into a franchise quarterback. But here's what gives me hope. Johnson has been working with Williams all offseason, and from all the reports we're hearing, Williams is responding incredibly well to the new system. The guy looks more comfortable, more confident, and more explosive than ever. And do you know what the most important factor is? Johnson understands that EPA, expected points added, is the most important metric for measuring offensive success. Waldron never got that, so we had such a predictable and inefficient offense. Johnson knows how to maximize the EPA of every play. Call Dot. Do you believe Caleb Williams will explode this season under Johnson? I think we have all the ingredients for a historic transformation, but we need that offensive line to protect, the defense to generate pressure, and for Johnson to work the magic we know he can. Chicago fans, these three situations will determine whether we return to the playoffs or if we have another maybe season. The left tackle battle will determine if Williams can develop his potential or if he'll be another quarterback destroyed by bad protection. Montez Sweat must justify those $98 million, or our defense will be mediocre again. And Ben. Johnson has to prove he can transform Williams as quickly as he transformed Goff. Do you think Jones will keep his spot as the starting left tackle, or will they give the chance to Trapolo? Do you think Sweat will return to his 2023 form, or are we seeing the start of his decline? How long do you think Johnson needs to make Williams elite? Leave your answers in the comments, because I need to know what the city thinks about these crucial decisions. If you think this will be Chicago's season, like this video. If you think Johnson will turn Williams into a franchise quarterback, subscribe to the channel because I guarantee we'll have exclusive coverage of every step of this transformation. Are more than a channel. We are a family that lives and breathes Navy and Orange. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps us continue to be the voice of Chicago in the Bears world. Don't miss our next video, where we will analyze the realistic expectations for the 2025 season and why I think we can finally compete in the NFC North. Bear down Chicago. See you in the next video.